on the other end of this storyline, Omega is going to emerge a babyface. Sacrifice was this weekend, and I won't be reviewing the entire show, but the main event had massive consequences going forward. On this week's Impact, Scott D'Amore announced that the winner of the Unified Impact World Championship match will go on to face Kenny Omega at Rebellion. Moose and Rich Swann had a title unification match. I really enjoyed the match. I couldn't possibly imagine how Moose would lose because he's just looked fantastic going into this match, but I knew that Rich Swann kind of had to win because they didn't really build a rivalry between Omega and Moose, whereas since the first time Omega showed up on Impact, they'd kind of been building Rich Swann versus Kenny Omega. I also think it's pretty obvious that Omega is going to win this match and he's going to add the Impact World Championship to his collection. I also believe that this is not where the story ends. I believe that Omega will, after taking the Impact World Championship, I believe he will be going after Nick Aldis and the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. So the NWA is returning, and Omega has been both the headliner of AEW's highest drawing pay-per-view and Impact's highest drawing pay-per-view post Spike TV. With NWA kind of finding its footing again, I believe that Corgan will be smart enough to know that the best thing he could do for his product is to get the bump that will come with bringing in Kenny Omega. I'd also like to see Kenny Omega versus Roosh. I'd like to see Kenny Omega versus most of Ring of Honor's roster, but I don't think Delirious is going to be eager to put the Ring of Honor title on Kenny Omega. And in this storyline, I think it's very important to keep Kenny Omega's losses at a minimum. The way I'm predicting, he's going to, on top of his AEW World Championship, his AAA Mega Championship, the inevitable Impact World Championship, I'm also predicting he's going to win the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. Of course, every championship that Kenny Omega wins, he's going to have to lose. If Kenny's going to be going through a belt collector story, it seems pretty apparent that the inevitable end goal is Kenny Omega versus Kota Ibushi. And I do think we're going to get there. The thing is, for many reasons, I don't think Kenny's going to win that match. However, I think it is a valuable match to have, especially with Kenny Omega losing. I think one day Kenny Omega will beat Kota Ibushi one-on-one, but I don't think it's now, and I don't think Gato wants to put the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship on Kenny Omega. It's definitely because of COVID, but in the era of COVID, in the near future post-COVID, I don't think Gato will want his first and third biggest belts to be, at best, less accessible. And I do think that it's best for storyline reasons for Kenny Omega to lose this match. I think that Kenny, in order to beat Kota Ibushi, just needs to be the better man. And I don't think being a bad guy is going to result in being the better man. So I would have Kenny Omega's first loss in the belt collector storyline to be against Kota Ibushi. The next big chapter in this story is Kenny versus Hangman. And I think the first belt for Kenny to lose is the AEW World Championship. All signs point to Hangman. All signs point to All Out. I, even as a bold prediction, am going to say that Hangman is the first since Kota Ibushi to kick out of the One-Winged Angel. I think it may piss a lot of people off, but I'm also predicting that Tony Khan is going to have Kenny drop each of his world championships to existing AEW talent. So next is AAA and the Mega Championship. I think the most obvious pick is Phoenix. Phoenix is on the run of his life. He is right now probably having the best year of anybody in wrestling. Phoenix is one of the only people on the planet that I can honestly say is as all-around talented as Kenny Omega. He's been AAA Mega Champion before. He's AEW talent, which Kenny can take a loss and it doesn't diminish the overall value of AEW. And Rey Fenix, I've been saying this since the first time I saw him. I truly believe that Rey Fenix is the mythical next Rey Mysterio that WWE's been searching for years. So I can't see anybody better than Rey Fenix to take the AAA Mega Championship and allow it to transition back to AAA. The NWA, in my opinion, has no better AEW roster candidate than Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston's cut promos on AEW before that imply that he sees the AEW World Championship as the pinnacle of pro wrestling. But Eddie Kingston is too much of a wrestling historian, very obviously, to not desperately value the NWA World's Heavyweight Championships. It's so apparent that Eddie values the history of professional wrestling that he refers to the AEW World Championship as the AEW World's Championship. I love Eddie Kingston, but I don't see him becoming AEW World Champion. And I think the best thing that AEW can do for Eddie Kingston is to give him the opportunity to be NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. And I don't even think Eddie would necessarily need to have any defenses. I think he would happily drop it back to Nick Aldis just to get himself in that history book to be a World's Champion. But I think it's possible, especially after Kenny Omega loses Dakota Ibushi and Hangman and maybe even Rey Fenix. My boldest prediction is that the Impact World Championship will go to Ethan Page. I know that Ethan Page is new and a lot of people don't really have a very high opinion on him, but I've seen exactly how talented Ethan Page is. He's, again, just an all-around talent. I think by the time we get to the Impact World Championship, if it is the last belt that I have Omega dropping, which I think is likely, I think Impact is the company that AEW has the most sway with. So I think they'll be able to keep their belt on Kenny Omega for a lot longer than any of the others. I think that AEW can book Ethan Page strongly enough between now and the end of the year. At this current point, the biggest hurdle is that he and Kenny Omega are both heels. I think Ethan Page is talented enough to be built up believably to beat Kenny Omega, especially if by then he's torn, he's directionless, he doesn't have the Good Brothers on his side anymore. Maybe he's trying to reconcile with Hangman and it's just not working. I think the most compelling story you can tell to get the Impact World Championship back on Impact is a showdown between Ethan Page and Josh Alexander. You can build up that story by having them take different directions in this point of their career. And I think that beating Kenny Omega, even if he has a very brief transitional title run for the Impact World Championship, a clean win over Kenny Omega will have Ethan Page set for years. Of course, there are bigger things that he can be doing than being a transitional Impact World Champion. But again, that's why he's betting on himself and moving from Impact to AEW. But I do think that the most compelling story you can have to put the Impact Championship back on Impact is a showdown between the North, especially with the way Impact treated Ethan Page on the way out. And Josh Alexander deserves to be Impact World Champion. If he's going to be having a singles run, he's phenomenal. I've seen Josh Alexander live multiple times and he's phenomenal. If you haven't seen Josh Alexander, check him out. But that's my bold predictions for Kenny Omega's trajectory in 2021. Be sure to comment your thoughts and your predictions in the comments down below. Subscribe if you like this because I'm going to keep making videos like this